Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's big breaking news coming out of Newcastle United this morning that they have sacked their manager Steve Bruce. He has left the club by mutual consent from his role as head coach. We're going to be talking all about this story and who may possibly be replacing Bruce at St James's Park going forward. But before we go any further with this news story, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. But for now, we've got to get back into this breaking news story that Newcastle have sacked Steve Bruce from his role as head coach. In what is being seen as the first step under the new regime, the new era at Newcastle United, Steve Bruce has been sacked from his role as head coach of the club. In reality, the writing had been on the wall for a while. This comes as no surprise to anybody that this has actually happened. We knew that sooner or later, as soon as the takeover was complete, the first point of business by the new owners will be to address the managerial situation, and so it has proved. It's definitely a case of out with the old and in with the new at Newcastle. Newcastle fans have wanted a change in ownership and a change in manager for some time now. And now all of a sudden, all of their Christmases have come at once. Within the space of a week or two, they've had their prayers answered. Mike Ashley is gone. A new regime has taken its toll at Newcastle. And Steve Bruce has also gone out with it. And now the search begins seemingly for a new manager waiting to be the successor to one Steve Bruce. Newcastle put out a tweet saying Newcastle United can confirm that Steve Bruce has left his position as head coach by mutual consent. The club would like to place on record its gratitude to Steve for his contribution and wishes him well for the future. Like we said, this was inevitable, and it seemed that out of fairness, maybe they were nice enough to give him his 1,000th game in management on Sunday in Newcastle's 3-2 defeat to Tottenham, and then after that they were willing to then part ways. I kind of thought they would leave it until the next international break, but of course they decided to act very quickly, and I think overall the board are pretty smart on this one. I don't see them sacking Bruce, especially now after allowing him to take the first game in charge of a new era with the club, if they didn't already have someone lined up to replace him immediately. I would expect them to move very quickly on finding his successor, maybe even by the end of today, maybe within the next 24 to 48 hours or so. I expect there to be some news on a successor to Steve Bruce at the club. I doubt they would go into Saturday's must-win game against Crystal Palace because, let's face it, Bruce leaves the club in the relegation zone without a single win this season going into Game 9 of the campaign. So it is a big game against Crystal Palace coming up on Saturday. It's a must-win game. I doubt that the board would leave a caretaker or interim manager, however you want to put it, in charge of the club for such a huge game coming up on Saturday. Look, as far as Steve Bruce goes, he's a championship manager at best. We've known that for a while. We knew that when he first took charge. I was a bit surprised he actually took charge of Newcastle, in all honesty, when you consider that a few years ago he was managing Sunderland. But of course, Mike Ashley does love a bit of a yes man, and of course that is pretty much what Steve Bruce is. He's a yes man. He claimed it was his boyhood club or whatever it was, so he was a bit in dreamland, to be honest. And honestly, I can't blame him. If you're managing one club that you really love, you'll just take any job that you can get. And it's not me being mean or horrible when I say that, it's genuinely the truth. He's a very old school manager, very basic sort of tactics, if any, obviously, on the pitch. And like I say, he's a yes man, and that is why Mike Ashley obviously appointed him in charge of Newcastle in the first place, to take some flack for obviously what he was doing off the pitch and so on and so forth. And you know, he's even come out and said that allegedly he may be done with management. He may be done altogether. He's taking charge of his 1,000th game. championship would only be repeating what he's been doing. So we'll wait and see what the future holds for one Steve Bruce. But on the upside, you know, he did manage to keep Newcastle in the Premier League despite all the odds, and gave them a base to build off with this new takeover. So he can at least take a little bit of credit for doing that. Now, as far as a replacement goes, no official word yet on who that may be, but we've heard plenty of names floating around the rumour mill as always, especially with it being a new and an exciting era awaiting at Newcastle. I don't think anybody really wants to be the first manager, because you know that you're a transitional manager. You know that you're just there to kind of elevate the club until they get the long-term manager or the main manager that is their goal. It was like that with Manchester City, where they were basically building and building for someone like Guardiola to come in and take charge. It's probably going to be a bit like that with Newcastle here, unless obviously things turn out miraculous and they hit the bullseye on the first time of asking. The likes of Brendan Rodgers have been named, obviously, and of course Rafael Benitez has also been linked with a return to the club. Both have ruled themselves out, but of course, barring any major U-turn, they're not to be immediately ruled out, especially not long-term at least anyway. Sky Sports are reporting that former Roma manager Paulo Fonseca, remember him? He was subject to much speculation about his future in the summer after being heavily linked with the Tottenham job at the time, and he was reportedly extremely close to taking that job before it all collapsed, of course. He's apparently emerged as a top contender for the role as well. Other names to be mentioned include current Rangers manager Steven Gerrard. I don't think he will move just yet. I think he's still got unfinished business with Rangers to do, but it is interesting if they do go down that route and they do try and pursue him. Former Chelsea and Derby manager Frank Lampard has also been mentioned. He did very well with the youth development at both Derby and Chelsea, if you remember, and I can see why he's linked with this club, especially when you consider that, although of course things didn't exactly work out in the long run with the Blues, but for the first season at least, it was pretty decent. Graham Potter of Brighton's also been mentioned, although I doubt that he would jump ship right now. And former Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe, who's currently out of the game, he's also been linked with the job. He did very well with limited resources at a considerably smaller club, with all due respect, in Bournemouth. He plays a nice, attractive style of football as well to boot, so he could be a good contender for the role, but these are all the names that have been whispered about so far. It's definitely a very interesting job to take charge of initially, although it may not, like I say, be great for the first manager in charge. But look, overall, you can't ignore the fact that this is going to be an exciting time for the Magpies. Like I say, they've finally got their club back from the clutches of Mike Ashley, and they've got rid of Steve Bruce, which is what they've wanted for a very, very long time. And of course, the final straw was with this takeover. And on Sunday, if you remember, losing at the time 3-1 to Tottenham during that spell before they made it 3-2, there were just massive chants around the stadium of they wanted Steve Bruce out of their club. And of course, that is exactly what's happened. That's exactly eventually what has happened. But it's worth mentioning and remembering, though, that this is the rebuilding stage for Newcastle right now. This is the rebuilding stage. This is not going to be the final product. So whoever they do bring in has to be an upgrade on Bruce that is enough to take them to the next level at the very, very least. For however long that will be, we don't know. We can't obviously get a crystal ball out and see. But like I say, the football, the tactics, the man management all have to be an upgrade on the old regime. And to be fair, any one of those managers and those names that were mentioned and that I've talked about in this video would definitely be suitable candidates of replacement for Steve Bruce. Like I say, there are a lot of names that are being thrown around right now. I think they've already got the wheels in motion. Like I say, I don't think they are that stupid to have had a spur of the moment idea of just sacking Bruce and now they're only just beginning to search for a replacement for him. I think they've already got someone in mind, or someone that is very close to being officially named as the new manager of Newcastle United. But hey, only time will tell. We wait and see who will be the new successor to Steve Bruce at Newcastle United. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you're going to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. Newcastle fans, neutral fans, or even rival fans, but mainly Newcastle fans, of course. Who would you like to see replace Steve Bruce as your manager going forward? What do you make of the sacking of Steve Bruce? Who do you think will come in and take charge? Who would you like to see come in and take charge? I'd love to know all of your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it on this subject down below in the comment section, because I'm very, very sure on this occasion that they will make the very, very interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video.